The 2006 Spanish film Pan's Labyrinth, directed by Guillermo del Toro, has an abundance of archetypes that are highlighted when the viewer analyzes characters, locations, and theme of the film through an archetypical lens. Characters that represent common archetypes in the film from Pan's Labyrinth include the main character Ophelia, Mercedes, Dr. Ferrerio, and the rebels, the Faun, and Captain Vida. Ophelia is perceived as the innocent character, also known as the child character in Pan's Labyrinth. Ophelia is only 11 years old and she knows little of the Civil War and presumably the outside world. An example of this is when she asks her mother Carmen why she must remarry. To protect her innocence and lack of knowledge of how women were treated at the time, her mother answers that she will find out when she is older. As the innocent character, she learns lessons in the film such as the danger of greed, seen from her visit in the Pale Man's lair, as well as refusing to sacrifice the innocent, seen with her newborn baby brother at the end of the film. Mercedes is the obvious caregiver within the film. She is seen comforting the main character Ophelia multiple times. These times include when she arrives, when her mother Carmen becomes very ill, and inevitably when her mother dies from childbirth. Mercedes is a source of kindness for Ophelia in Vidal's household. These preconceived notions exemplify her role as the caregiver. The Spanish rebels, along with Dr. Ferrerio, represent very obviously the character of the rebel when looked through the archetypal lens. They are all anti-Francois, and they constantly create trouble for Captain Vidal and his army with the help of Mercedes. Dr. Ferrerio has a strong sense of justice, and this can be seen by the viewer when he voluntarily kills the rebel stutterer who was suffering and releasing information for the Follage. He does this knowing that he would probably be killed himself. The Faun is the mentor character for the protagonist and informs as well as prepares Ophelia for her journey. The mentor in media is seen as a wise character, and the Faun shows this by informing Ophelia of the keys to open the portal to the underworld and the dangers of taking any food from the Pale Man's banquet. The Faun also informs Ophelia of her true identity as a princess of the underworld, Moana. Finally, Captain Vidal represents the archetype of the ruler. Although Vidal is merely a high-ranking Falang officer, he is seen as a dictatorial figure in this story. The ruler in archetypal criticism is usually viewed as evil, with paranoia and suspicion being their weaknesses. Captain Vidal is viewed exactly this way in Pan's Labyrinth. Captain Vidal does not care for his wife, daughter-in-law, or even his own army at times in the film. All that not to mention that he enjoys torturing people. Vidal does seem to care about his son, but I believe this care is more about his legacy than his son's well-being. Vidal, like most ruler archetypes in media, desires control, and he is even willing to kill his daughter-in-law to hold on to it. A metaphorical location, starting point, and journey ending point are also found in the film. These places are the underworld and the labyrinth. Ophelia's entire journey is so she can be princess of the underworld, a place the Faun describes as no violence or lies. This location is an archetype location where the protagonist attempts to journey to throughout the text. The starting point and end point of the film is the labyrinth. This is where both versions or bodies per se of Ophelia die, which symbolizes the past in which Princess Moana escapes. When the theme of life versus death in Pan's Labyrinth is explored, after analyzing the film throughout an archetypal lens, the deaths of Ferrero, Ophelia, and Vidal are justified. Ophelia, being the innocent archetype, when she dies, the journey as well as the film soon ends. This is true for both the battle and her mission to go to the underworld. This is justified by the victory of the rebels immediately after her death. I believe this was done to connect the two. Ferrero's death is very straightforward and justifiable. In media, a rebel must die in order to indicate that the antagonist or opposing force is serious in their actions or beliefs. If no vital anti-Francois were killed, Vidal and his men would not be taken seriously by the viewer. The opposite happens when Captain Vidal kills him. Lastly, Captain Vidal's death by the hands of Mercedes' brothers establishes not only the archetype that the ruler is foiled by the good guys, but also brings an interesting idea for the viewer, which is revenge. The sympathetic and soft music before his death symbolizes Vidal's fall from grace and power. Hopefully, you as a viewer has learned something about the archetype and theme of Pan's Labyrinth. Thanks for watching.